Hi crafty people, this is Hannah and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a really short video on ironing off embossing powder. I don't remember, I don't even know if it has a name. It's a technique I learned watching somebody else's video, and I was trying to find that video so I could reference it down below, and I couldn't. So a number of people have asked me how it works, and I'm going to show you what I did to create this card. I probably need to adjust the color, and let me turn this way. I think I'm trying to get it so you can see. I'm trying to angle this so that you can see there's like a satin feel and look to this once you iron off that top layer of embossing powder. I think what you're really doing is you're flattening it more. You're lifting some off, but you're also pressing it deeper into your panel. But anyway, so I'm going to show how I achieved this color from this embossing ink. See, it was a deep dark color, and you'll see that when we get started. Okay, so what you're going to need is obviously embossing powder. This that I'm using is Stampin' Stuff Opaque Violet. This is not available anymore. I don't really even know where I bought this. I think it was in the dollar bin at Michael's, and I got a bunch of different colors, and that was like years ago. But this stuff is really good. I think that Ranger has a violet that's almost this color that will probably work for you if you want to use that. But any color that you want, just depending on the colors that you have. I have a lot of fun colors. I don't have all of them out. This is like a cobalt blue, which is very pretty when you use it in this technique. And then here's another kind of fun pink one. I have a marmalade. They had them in the dollar bin and they were trying to get rid of them. So I just bought a bunch, and I used them for this particular background technique. Now this particular card, it's a sympathy card. It has not been, I haven't put it on my blog yet, but I used the same stencil, and I used embossing powder, and it was this sort of glittery gold embossing powder, and it has kind of an iridescent look when you look at it. The embossing powder has red and green in it, and it's really pretty. This one I didn't iron off, so I'm just using it as a reference point for you to see. Oh, there, you see the shine there? Now you can see it. That's the kind of shiny glow that you're going to get if you iron off the embossing powder, as opposed to this, which is raised, it's embossed, and when you run your hands across it, the texture is rough. Okay, so choose your embossing powder and the color that you want to use. I used this stencil. I use this stencil because it has a lot of open areas in it, and that's what you really want. It works with any stencil. You can iron it off, but you need to use vibrant colors, because if you use dull colors and then you iron it, it'll still be pretty, but your colors are going to fade and sort of push back into your design. And if that's the look you're going for, that's fine. But I just thought I'd mention that the bolder your colors are, the better result you will get. You need, obviously, an embossing tool. This is my heat gun. You're going to need an iron. I have a little tiny craft iron that I use, but I couldn't find it, so I'm going to use this big one that I also use that on large surfaces. This is a tube of acrylic ink that my husband got for me at the dollar store. He went to the Dollar Tree and they had revamped their craft department. And so he bought all this ink for me. I mean, like tubes and tubes of ink. And he said they have ink in little jars. And so he's going to go back and get that. And he got tape and watercolors and brushes. So he just went crazy in there. He was like, I didn't know what you could use. I can't go out. I have a compromised immune system, and so I am 100% housebound. I was always pretty much restricted in being able to go out and shop. So I do most of my shopping online. So he said, I don't know. I'm just going to buy everything and you can either use it or not use it. You have a bunch of stuff in here that you don't use, so it won't be a big deal, which I thought was funny. Okay, I usually cut my cardstock down to a panel that's 5.5 by 4.25, which is the size of the standard card. I normally end up cutting these down to I think 3.75 by 5 to fit on my cards because I usually do a double layering. So, you know, the base of the card will be 4.25 by 5.5. Then the next layer, I normally will make it 1/8 of an inch smaller than my main panel. And then my decorated panel, I will take down another 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes I take it down 1/4 of an inch. It just depends on the project and what I'm looking for. But I like to start with this standard size so that I can decorate edge to edge, and then when I cut it down, I have a more finished image on my card. You'll need a brush, paintbrush, and the reason I have this paintbrush is just if I decide to do a little splatter, which is what I'm going to use this ink for. I'm just going to put a little here and make a puddle and then splatter. I have a puddle on my other table, and if it doesn't dry up before we get to that point, then I will use it. But it doesn't have to be this big. I just grab this one. It can just be a small paintbrush. Anything that you can tap, you put it on the end and just tap to make your spatter. This little folded sheet is for my embossing powder. You can use a coffee filter or whatever you do. I just happen to have this available. These extra sheets of copy paper, and I'm going to take 2 of them and I'm going to fold them in half. And once we do our embossing, we will use this as the cover on our project. So I'm going to grab my craft mat, since I'm going to be using heat. I usually do this on my other work table over there, which is where I do all my painting and embossing and what have you. But for this one, I'm going to try to do it here where my camera's hooked up. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. You're going, obviously, you need embossing ink. I'm using Versamark, and my pad is pretty grungy looking, but it works. I have the refill ink, and I just refill it and move right along. I've done, I don't know how many projects with that, so, you know, it doesn't need to be a clean pad. Okay, so to get started, take your stencil and you're going to just attach your card. And look at your stencil, whatever stencil you're using, determine which way you want your cards to. You know, if you're going to do landscape or portrait. If I were doing this the long way. I mean, if I was going to have this card flip open, and I think I will do this one this way simply because it'll give a different perspective. But position your card the way you want it. Okay? And I need to, yeah, this is the back, and I need to make sure I got that right. Okay? So now I use low-tech tape, which is, for me, the Scotch removable tape. I find that to be the best one. I use pixie spray sometimes. This is what it looks like. It comes in the blue box. Sometimes I will use the pixie spray, but on projects like this, I just use the low-tech tape. So I attach my cardstock. Okay. And then I flip it over and I secure the stencil to my work surface. Okay. And I'm trying to keep, I'm trying to keep all of this in camera so you can actually see it. Hold on just a second. I need to make a little adjustment. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh, I got that crooked. Not that it matters. The stencil is straight. My taping is crooked. I'm so glad. Sorry, talking to my husband. He was letting me know he's back in the house. Okay, I'm sorry. Normally this doesn't take that long. All right, once you have your stencil secured, take your Versamark pad or whatever embossing ink you're using and press it down. And I give it a good hard press, and I go in sections to make sure that I'm getting complete coverage. And the other thing I like, honey, I'm making a video. I give it a nice hard press, and I like that I get these little designs from the pattern of the pad. It gives you, when you iron off your embossing powder, it gives you a really nice little design on your background. So once you're comfortable with the amount of embossing powder you've put on, you just peel this away, and then you can see your images there. Okay. Then I take my little folded sheet, place it there. I can see places around the edges where I wish I had gotten more embossing powder, but it'll be okay. And then I just cover it with the embossing powder. Try to. And the one thing I didn't tell you, I'm sorry, but I think most of you probably know that when you're getting ready to emboss, you need to wipe down your card with a anti-static cloth, which I didn't do. But it will stop you from getting a lot of embossing powder where you don't want it. Okay, so now I'm going to just fold this up and put it off to the side for the moment. And I'm going to put this right here. And normally I would do the back first, and I think I am going to do that first. When you first start your embossing, You have to let this heat up, and it's a good idea to start by embossing the back of your card. And then you can move to the front. Now, because of the amount of embossing powder that's on here and the large area that you're trying to cover, this can take a minute. So I'm going to turn this off and come back when it's done. Okay, so we're back, and this is the color that I got once I embossed that ink. Now I take my two sheets that I doubled and put this in, and I'm going to start my iron. This iron heats up very quickly, so I didn't plug it in while we were off camera. This was another hubby find. The hubby was wandering through the Goodwill, and he's like, I found this iron and I thought it would be perfect for your studio. It heats up quickly. So even while it's on a low heat, I'm just going to start to press this. And I really need my other board. My husband made this wonderful board for me that holds things while I work. One of the side effects of my disease is I don't have very good muscle strength. It comes and goes. And so he's made a lot of things to help me, like, be able to hold things. Okay, so I'm going to lift this sheet up, and I can see that my design is starting to come off on the paper. And you can only separate this while it's hot. And you don't want to try to do this when it cools down. So this is a little lighter than I would have wanted it, but and then you peel it off. And so see, that top layer is there on your paper, and this is what you have left on your project. And you'll get, it's not even, if you wipe your card down with the powder before you emboss, then you won't get these little stray areas in your, you see that? But I like that. See, that for me is a part of the design. So I really like that. So that's all there is to ironing off the embossing powder and lightening up your background. I'm going to do this with pink and some other colors to see how they work. And I'm not worried about, you see this little edge right here? I'm not worried about that because I'm going to trim this down in size. And so that's why I start with more card than I need, so that I can do my trimming and not lose the integrity of the stenciled image that I'm working with. And so nothing is an imperfection. Now you have this beautiful card front that you can work with. And then you just need to decide how you're going to embellish it. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can do this with a different stencil using bright colors and make a lively card using it. So that's the next step. Okay, in the next video that I'm going to do, and when I do it, I will, oh, I can put this right here. I can take more time and we can go all the way through and decorate an entire card. But I'm going to show you how we can use this pinwheel stencil to create a fun, cute card with critters on it, and in using the iron off technique to do that. But I want to get this video done so I can post it, because a number of ladies have asked me how to do this technique. So I just wanted to show them how that was done. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back and be with me the next time. Bye.